There was a time when the Marvel Cinematic Universe genuinely felt like one giant living world. Not because characters crossed over into each other's movies, not because every film had a post-credit scene teasing the next big event, but because it felt like every single story mattered to every other story. When something happened in one movie, you could feel the ripple effect throughout the entire universe. The Battle of New York wasn't just the ending to the Avengers, it became one of the most important events in MCU history. It traumatized Tony Stark and directly led to the events of Iron Man 3 and even the Age of Ultron. It created Adrian Toomes, a working class man who lost everything because Stark Industries took over the cleanup, eventually becoming the Vulture. One single event created consequences for heroes, villains, governments, and ordinary civilians. This is what made the universe feel alive. Not cameos, but consequences. Fast forward to today, and despite Marvel producing more content than ever before, the universe somehow feels smaller, disconnected, and sometimes artificial. Every movie looks beautiful. We still get references, we still get post-credit scenes, and we still get occasional cameos. Yet somehow it feels like every character exists inside their own bubble. Almost like every project takes place inside its own version of the MCU. And that's a feeling that I just can't shake anymore. Whenever I finish a modern Marvel movie or series, instead of thinking, I can't wait to see how this changes the MCU, I find myself wondering, is anyone else gonna acknowledge that this happened? Because recently, the answer has usually been no. Think about real life for a second. If something catastrophic happened in New York tomorrow, the entire country would react. Governments, news stations, people would change their behavior. Life would change. That's how a living world works. They react. Early MCU understood that incredibly well. The world felt like it was moving. SHIELD monitoring enhanced individuals. Governments debated superhero regulations. That's why someone like Nick Fury barely needed any screen time. Just knowing SHIELD existed made the universe feel connected. You always felt like somebody was paying attention. Today, I don't get that feeling anymore. Instead, it feels like every writer has permission to ignore whatever doesn't directly affect their own story. And while that makes individual projects easier to write, it slowly damages the illusion that this is one shared universe. For an example, let's talk about New York. Everyone has their own version of New York. This is probably the biggest reason, for me at least, why the MCU feels disconnected. New York should be the center of superhero activity. I mean, let's think about who's currently operating there. Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, Avengers are operating nearby, Thunderbolts. I mean, the city should feel alive with superheroes. So why aren't they helping each other? Instead, it feels like every project takes place in its own private version of New York City. When I watched Daredevil Born Again, it genuinely sometimes felt like it was a completely different city than the one that Spider-Man lives in. And the same thing can be said about Thunderbolts. I mean, you have a literal Avengers level threat in the city. Now, I'm not talking about I need to see Daredevil jumping through a window and attacking Sentry, but at least a mention of what happened. Same thing about Daredevil Born Again. You have a mayor that's going completely mad. He's kidnapping people, torturing them, keeping them hostage somewhere. Where is Spider-Man? He's nowhere to be found. And even in Brand New Day, they don't mention what happened with Sentry or with Mayor Fisk. Now, I know there are some problems with Sony and Spider-Man. From what I think I know, Spider-Man cannot appear in a TV series. He can only appear in movies. But still, I feel like they can do more. He doesn't even acknowledge it in his own movie. That makes me feel like he's a fraud.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
Why isn't he there? Like, there's no in-universe explanation to why they don't at least explain where he was at that time. Also, the Void, not mentioned. Why? Just like, why? Like, what is the reason that Spider-Man wasn't there helping the Thunderbolts? I was really hoping the movie would explain that part, because I was hoping maybe he was trying to help, but he simply got captured in the Void. But yeah, there's just no explanation, not even a mention of that happening. One thing that really bothered me is how the Void barely feels like it changed New York. An entire city witnessed one of the biggest disasters since the Battle of New York. This should become one of the defining moments in the MCU, but there's no mention of it anywhere. It barely feels like that event ever happened. Where are the conversations, the news reports? Where are the consequences for what happened? This problem started when they started introducing things and then forgetting about them when a giant celestial that wasn't just mentioned for I don't remember how many movies. This was a god-sized being pushing its way out of the planet, and nothing. It wasn't mentioned until the latest Captain America movie. Everyone forgets what also happened in that movie. I forgot what that big dude's name was, the celestial, but he appeared right next to the Earth. Like, imagine looking up in the sky and seeing a cosmic being larger than planets staring directly at humanity. And he also announces that he will return to judge whether humanity deserves to exist. That should have been the biggest story on Earth. Governments should panic. Like, religions should be transformed, right? I feel like there would be a few cults running around. I don't know. Every superhero should be asking the same question. When is he coming back? Instead, it barely felt like the MCU remember that it happened. Also, I'm not gonna talk about Thanos' brother. That whole movie set up a lot of things that either took way too long to be concluded or they just were never mentioned again. Also, again, spoiler for Spider-Man Brand New Day. The Punisher taking Spider-Man into a hospital after he shot him. Like, isn't the Punisher wanted for like murders and whatnot? He's just chilling there in the hospital until Peter wakes up. Some things don't make sense to me. I love Marvel. I will always love Marvel. I don't want to seem like I'm criticizing everything because I'm the type of person that likes to focus more on the positive side of things, right, than the negative. And still, for me, MCU is one of my favorite pieces of media ever. I love what they did with the Infinity Saga, and I also feel like they can just recreate some of that with Doom and whatever is going to come after that. But yeah, that is my biggest problem with modern MCU. It's not the movies, it's not the characters, it's the fact that it no longer, at least for me, feels like one living universe. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Do you still feel like the MCU is connected? Or has something been missing since the Infinity Saga? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a like and maybe even a subscribe. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.